Okay, so people are eating less at restaurants. We've seen that with Starbucks. You've seen it with McDonald's, all the fast food places. People just cannot afford a $7 or $8 coffee every single day of the week. Starbucks just got a new CEO. They took the guy from Chipotle, but consumers in general just they're stepping back from going to these places that they used to go to every day, and they're going less frequent, and it's hurting the numbers of Starbucks, McDonald's, all the fast food places. The consumer just is tapped out. They're not going there. They're pulling back, and they're saying, we love going to Starbucks, we like going to McDonald's maybe, but we can't afford it. And instead of going every day or 5 times a week, maybe we're only going to go once or twice a week because it's too expensive. It used to be more affordable, or like on par, going to McDonald's or going to, not really Starbucks, but other places you could go. You could get a quick meal. I mean, all these places are unhealthy, but you could get a quick meal there for like $5, or certainly not very expensive. Now it might be closer to $15 or $20 for like a fast food meal for just one person. So it just doesn't make sense. People are not doing it as much. They're going to the grocery store, they're buying their own groceries, and they're making their own food because they just don't have the money to go to McDonald's or go to Starbucks, go to Subway. Subway's another one that's been way down. They've had to close, I think, a bunch of their locations and kind of re-strategize on how they're going to get more consumers in. And I kind of stopped going there too, because it's so painful to get them to, most of the sandwich is just bread. They don't want to put any of the toppings on. You have to ask like 4 times for them to put more onions or lettuce or tomatoes or pickles on your sandwich. They only put like 2 of them on there. It's just kind of frustrating, right? And it's like $12 now for a sandwich. So I remember just maybe 5-6 years ago, it was the $5 footlong, and I felt like they put more stuff on it. I don't go there very often anymore. I think it's overpriced and it's not that good. I would much sooner go to Jimmy John's, but even Jimmy John's is like $10, and if you do that every day, it's kind of expensive, right? And that's just one meal per day. The Starbucks thing has always amazed me, though. I mean, people would line up 10 cars deep, 15 cars deep, and they'd actually block the road because they're waiting to get into the drive-thru in Starbucks. That's how basically addicted people are to Starbucks coffee. They'll wait in line for like 30 minutes, and they'll wait behind 10 or 15 other cars. I've seen it. But recently, I haven't seen it as much. A couple years ago, I did see people that were just packed into Starbucks trying to get a coffee. And now I think people have pulled back a little bit, simply because they just don't have the money, right? You can't spend $7, $8 a day on coffee. And then if you want to get one of their breakfast sandwiches or something else on the menu, like a muffin, you're probably spending close to $15 every time you go in there. And that's just for one person. So if you have 2 or 3 people, you could be spending close to $50 every time you go to Starbucks on just one little meal. That oftentimes it's not really even real food. It doesn't really fill you up. It's just like a snack or something, right? It's a coffee and a muffin, or a coffee and like a Danish or whatever. So I never really go to Starbucks that much. I mean, the coffee's okay, but if you compare it to the other options, it's just ridiculous. It's okay if you go every once in a while. And I think that's what most consumers are seeing now. Even though they like Starbucks coffee, it's just, I'm not going to spend, what is it, $50 a week probably on coffee. I mean, that's probably $2,000 to $3,000 a year if you go to Starbucks, 5 times a week for just coffee. And I think a lot of people were doing that. So they got that new CEO in there. They fired the other CEO, and they got the guy from Chipotle in there. And it would be interesting to see what he does. But I think in general, the prices just have to come down. People like Starbucks. They like going to McDonald's. They like having the fast food, even though all of it's unhealthy. But if they can't afford it, they're not going to go, or they're not going to go as much, because the prices are just too high. You have to have the price of going to these places be somewhat on par with what the price is at a grocery store And of course, the grocery store is always going to be cheaper, but if going to fast food is like so much more expensive, people are going to start pulling back. And I think that's what's happened. And it's really the people at the lower end. Like, a lot of the people that go to fast food are typically lower end consumers, and those are the people that are pulling back the most. I think they said the biggest decline is from people that make like under $50,000 a year. And they're being tapped, right? Fast food used to be like a convenient, affordable option for people to go eat and get just a quick indulgence, a quick meal. And now they just can't afford it. I mean, they're not going to spend $15 or $20 a day on one fast food meal. They're going to do it a lot less because it's just too expensive. I mean, literally, it used to be $5, $6 for like a burger, fries, and like a drink that would fill you up. And now it's at least double that, usually 2 to 3 times more than that. It could be $15 to $20 per person. And people just can't afford it. So I don't know what they're going to do. The guy from Chipotle with Starbucks, I don't know. I mean, it seems pretty simple. You have to lower your costs in order to get people in there consistently. Otherwise, they're going to look for substitutes or alternatives to your product. And I don't know if they can do that. I mean, wages have gone up. The price to rent or own these locations where they have the physical store, I know the prices of that have probably gone up. And the cost to just run a business in general always goes up with insurance and wages. And, the company tries to pass those costs on to the consumer. And that's what they've been doing. And the consumer is saying, no thanks. We've had enough of this. We're not going to keep buying your product because we can't afford it. We can't pay these prices. We have an option to go to the grocery store and make food for the whole week and spend only a fraction of what it costs us to go to your restaurant. And, we like going to your restaurant. Maybe we'll go to your restaurant still, but we're going to go a lot less because it's too expensive. And, money is kind of tight. They have all the other expenses in your life, rent, insurance, general food in general. It all goes up. So there's less money to go spend on going to McDonald's or Starbucks and all these other discretionary places to buy food. So people are pulling back. And I think until the prices come down significantly, it'll continue. So let me know what you think. You can subscribe if you want, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.